Hey, what's up, YouTube gang? So, if you guys are new here, I'm Christine, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And if you guys already been here, welcome back. Thanks for clicking on another video. But today's going to be a story time. It's not a good story time. Well, in my opinion, it's not a good story time. But it's a story time about my stalker. I had a stalker for about a month. Yeah, it was about a month. It was the scariest thing ever. This is when it was like the end of freshman year in high school. At the time, I was in Eli Whitney, and you know, your girl looked better than what she did now. But I was in Eli Whitney, and where I lived, it was like really woodsy in a way. It was woodsy. I lived in the white neighborhood, and where my school was, like, we had to walk a good 5 to 6 blocks to get to our, well, I had to walk. Other people had cars and stuff. I had to walk a good 5 to 6 blocks away from my house just to get to my bus stop. So I had to walk uphill, downhill, all that just to get to my bus stop. And literally, okay, I be in school, I get out of school at like 2:13. I get home at like 2:45. I get to my bus stop, my designation, like that area where they drop you off at. So I'm there and I'm walking. And at this point, I'm walking uphill. And I see this red truck following me after I got off my bus. Like, he was at our little plaza where we got on and got off. And I'm walking up this hill and he's following me. Then, like, this whole time, mind you, I'm walking. Walking is slow. This whole time he stood like right beside me or a little bit behind me. And at one point I remember him pulling up next to me and he was like, "Oh, you need a ride, da 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 da." And I was like, "Oh no," like, you know what your mom always tells you, don't talk to strangers. So I'm like, "Oh no, I don't need a ride, like, I'm good, I could walk." And he was like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I was like, "Oh, my name's Cindy." I always use the name Cindy when people ask me for my name. "Oh, my name's Cindy." He was like, "Oh, hi Cindy, that's such a beautiful name." Trying to flirt with me. Mind you, he's like 40 something. And I'm like, "Okay, thanks." And then I act like my mom called me. I was like, "Hey," like, talking to my mom on the phone. There was nobody there. My phone wasn't even connected at that time, like. But that happened, and I noticed that he was like still beside me while I was reaching my house. So like, I took this turn and I went up to some random person's house. I was like, "All right, bye, like, this is my house, bye," thinking like he thought it was my house, and it really wasn't. My house was like a block away. And then every day for about a month, I've seen that red truck there. And every time I walked home, he would always be further down the road than me. Like, he'll be behind me, but like a little far. And I noticed it. And every time I went home, I told my mom, "Mom, this guy's following me. Like, this guy, he doesn't leave me alone. He keeps trying to talk to me, trying to make me go in his truck." And my mom, she's crazy. She's Puerto Rican, that Puerto Rican thing. So one day she calls out of work and she ends up going to my bus stop. And what a coincidence, he's not there that day. That day he isn't there. So she's like, "Oh, where is he? Where is he?" I was like, "He's not here." Then the next day, she doesn't come, whatever, and she tells me to call her if I see him. And he's there. Right when I get off the bus, he's there. "Hey, let me get you a ride to your house, da 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 da." I'm good. I'm good. Like, I'm straight. I don't need no ride. You feel me? Like, let me get my workout in. Let me walk. Let me walk a couple miles, And this time, I was with a couple of friends, and we were all going to the park that was next to my house. It was like a block away from my house. And I was like, "Hey guys, let's go to the pit." And then I was explaining to them who this guy was, and like, he always followed me. So they're like, "Oh, let's not go to the park," because the park was like, it was like a pit. It was called the pit, but it was like a baseball thing, and it had like a park and a little shack for food and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh, if we go here, we're gonna be trapped, so let's just like walk around in like a public area so people could see us." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So that's what we did. Then The following day, I get off the bus again. He's there. He follows me. And this time, I'm like totally freaked out. Like, I'm like, all right, he's really following me. He's going to do something to me and my family while we're sleeping. Like, this is what I'm thinking in my head. Like, I'm so done with this. I'm tired of it. I can't do this anymore. So, I get off the bus. He's following me again. And I decided to take different routes to my house. Like, instead of turning left, I turned right. And then, like, I was going different roads. And then there was one time that, and the same day, he pulled up to me. He was like, hey, what are you doing? And at this time, there was no cars around. There was literally just road. I don't think there was only like 2-3 houses, but they were like so separated. And the rest was woods. Bad idea for me to go to, right? So he comes up, pulls up next to me. Hey, get in my car. And I'm like, what do you mean get in your car? I'm not getting in your car. And after these sorry, but ever since that happened, I always carried a knife with me now. And he aggressively told me get in his car, and I was like, no. So he aggressively told me to get in his car, and I was like, no. And at this time, I had the knife in my pocket, and I opened it just in case he got out the car and tried to like come at me. And he was yelling at me, get in my car, I'm taking you home, da 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 da. I'm like, no, like, I'm good, like, I'm good. So by that time, he pulled up and he parked the car. So me thinking he's gonna get out the car, I ran the other way. I was chunky, so like, I was skinnier than what I am now, but I was chunky, and I couldn't run for shit. I could not run for nothing. So after he saw that I was running, he got back in his truck and he reversed. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. So I ran home. Like, I didn't care at this point. I ran home. Nobody was home. I locked all the doors, locked all the windows. And then you see him come around the corner down to my street. And he's just driving, looking around, looking for me. But luckily, I didn't just open my front door and run in. I ran through the neighbor's yard because we didn't have any gates in our backyard. I ran through the neighbor's yard, and I cut through to my yard. And then I went in through the basement, and I ran upstairs. I locked everything. I made sure everything was secure. I made sure all the lights were off, everything. And he's looking for me, looking for me, looking for me. At that point, I called my mom. My mom's like, call the cops. So I call the cops. Cops come to my house, and they're like, oh, what's the guy look like? Tell them what he looks like, what he was driving. I told them everything. I gave him the description, all that. So literally 2 to 3 days after the cops come, they decide they want to make a little pop-up at my bus stop. And once again, he wasn't there. He wasn't there. Then the next day, like, ever since I called the cops, he just stopped. He stopped coming around. He stopped coming to my bus stop, everything. And, like, the cops would literally be there once I got off the bus, and they would follow me home from a distance to make sure I was okay. But after like a week, they're like, okay, we have no sign of him. If you see him, just let us know, all that bull. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, all right, thanks. Bye. See you guys. And I never saw him again. But it was really scary, like, being a teenager, especially a freshman. I was like 15, 16 years old, having somebody following you home. And where I lived, like I said, it was a lot of woods. And it wasn't much houses all cluttered up on one street. They were all separated, so anything could happen between one house and the next house because it was just that big gap. But I was just so scared. I was frightened. Like, I didn't know what to do. Me, I always act like a tough girl. I always do. But, like, I don't know. I was just so scared. But yeah, that is it for my stalker video. Like, it wasn't even all that good, but that's it for my stalker video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell to get notified every time I post. I don't have it set schedule when I post. It's just like whenever I feel good or whenever I have something to post because, you know, your girl boring. But don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Turn on your bell for notifications. And yeah, see you guys soon. I don't even want to have the video yet. Alright, bye.